Welcome back to the Making the Madness YouTube channel. We're here with an emergency YouTube video. It is because the CBS Sports Classic has decided to change matchups uh, from what it previously has been. Now we will get Kentucky versus North Carolina and Ohio State versus UCLA. This, I guess, to go along because the Big Ten and Pac-12 have kind of similar protocols, and the ACC and SEC have similar protocols. So I guess the two leagues are deciding to go based on that. So matchups are flipped, and I think it's interesting to see the matchups. I personally like the previous matchups that we had, but should be fun event either way.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest winner, I guess we'll get into our actual predictions here momentarily, but the biggest winner of this whole changing of matchups is Ohio State because they're going against a team with the most talented bigs in the country, and they're down EJ Liddell and Seth Towns. So they dodge a bullet having to face UCLA.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is definitely a winner. Not that, like, if they were playing Kentucky or they were playing North Carolina, I still think they would have had issues inside, but certainly UCLA is not overly dominant inside. I still think, uh, Chris Smith, Jalen Hill are two players that could absolutely take advantage of some matchup issues that Ohio State has, but I think less so than what you have seen with North Carolina. And uh, I think it's a better matchup for Ohio State. I would tend to think that UCLA is just a better team, even with, especially without EJ Liddell. But certainly, I think the matchup is better for Ohio State this way.
Yeah, definitely. As a whole, I guess getting into the UCLA Ohio State matchup, I just like UCLA more. The guard play, Tiger Campbell against CJ Walker, they're kind of similar players. Both guys who aren't really shooters, but shoot it more than they should. But they're both good facilitators. They're both super smart, good passers. But like you said, the post play, Jalen Hill, Cody Riley, Chris Smith can get downhill. They're gonna destroy Kyle Young and uh, Zed Key, whoever else they have playing down low, because they don't have any depth down there right now. So that's gonna be a problem. And then, you have Jaime Hawkins, who's been one of the top players in the Pac-12 this season. Was a glue guy last year, but now he's become an actual really good player. And then for Ohio State, they have some questions shooting wise. Justin Arms and Dwayne Washington are the only two guys that have been able to hit three so far this year on a consistent basis. So that's something to keep an eye on. UCLA's offense has been better than most had imagined so far. Let's see if that can keep going. Ohio State, though, as a whole, I'm just not buying into them. They're a top 25 team in the AP poll. I don't have them ranked. I don't think I'd have them ranked in my top 30. I just think they're a bit overrated. They're probably going to lose to Purdue, and I just think that they'll lose this game to UCLA. They're less talented, and the issues down low are going to continue without Liddell and Seth Towns for who knows how long.
Yeah, and I think Justice Suing, I think, has been kind of impressive offensively, but like I still think, you match him up against Chris Smith, both at small ball four positions. Chris Smith's better. He's more talented. He's a better player. And then you've got Jalen Hill at the five. I think he's better than Kyle Young. So you got, and then like in the backcourt, I think the backcourts are really similar. You got like game manager point guards. You got good shooting guards, but just really at the four and the five spot, I still think UCLA has a huge advantage, even though it's like a different advantage than what it would have been with North Carolina, who would just pounded it inside and scored at the rim at will. I think UCLA is just more athletic, more crafty around the rim. So I think it's a different matchup, but still one that I think favors the team playing Ohio State. And so I'll take UCLA to win this game by probably 2, 3 possessions, something in that range.
Yeah, I'll say UCLA wins it by 7. I just think overall they have much better depth too with Jules Bernard and Jake Hyman, David Singleton. Those are all guys that would start for a lot of teams, and they're playing 10 to 20 minutes for UCLA.
Yeah. And then the featured game, the one that will get all the headlines. It's Kentucky. It's North Carolina, the bluest of the blue bloods. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Neither team's particularly all that exciting, at least this year. North Carolina, I still think, is probably a year away from being a legitimate contender for an NCAA title or anything like that. I think Kentucky right now isn't, really all that good, and so I think this is a matchup I would really like to see next year. Given I think both teams will be better next year, but we get it this year. For Kentucky, we've gone through their struggles. They're 1-4 this season. The backcourt's kind of a mess. Devin Askew is unplayable. He gets played minutes. Olivier Sarr, Isaiah Jackson, front court just hasn't been working out. And B.J. Boston, Terrence Clark have been solid, but not like a superstar level player. So it's been kind of a myriad of issues for Kentucky this year. But this is a big opportunity for them. If they can get this win, they can kind of get their season going back in the right track.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a game Kentucky needs to win. Like we said before for the UCLA game, I think it's the same thing for this one. This is a game they absolutely need to win. And it's just an interesting matchup. I think they actually match up with UNC somewhat decently because they have Isaiah Jackson who can defend one of the bigs, likely the more athletic one, which will be Daron Sharp whenever he's on the floor. And then you have Olivier Sarr he's a decent defender, not great, not bad. He'll defend probably Garrison Brooks. They're kind of similar players. And then you can play Lance Ware or Cameron Fletcher sometimes too. But as a whole, the story of this game for me is the struggling freshman guard. You have B.J. Boston, who's struggled a ton. You have Caleb Love, who's been one of the bigger disappointments in college basketball this season so far. I think overall, I'm going to go with Kentucky to win this game. I think they're going to play motivated. They showed a lot of fight late in that game against Notre Dame. I think this is a better matchup for them than UCLA would have been. So I think they'll come out with the victory in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my pick of North Carolina. I think the thing about Kentucky is so much of their offense, while they're not being able to make shots from the perimeter, relies on the inside, and that's kind of where North Carolina does its best work. They really kind of shut down Luka Garza as best they could, and Iowa just made shots from the perimeter. That's how they beat North Carolina. You don't have that issue with Kentucky. Like, you leave like Olivier Sarr or Devin Askew or someone like that open, he's not going to make the shot. At least you don't trust them to make the shot. Maybe they do start making shots, but they haven't to this point in the season. I'm not all too convinced they'll start all of a sudden turning into the Golden State Warriors. So I still hesitate with Kentucky, at least from a shooting perspective. I think inside North Carolina just has an advantage because, like, I'd say North Carolina has three big men better than any of the big men that are on Kentucky. I think Daron Sharp's a future, one and done top 20 pick. I think even this year he could be gone to the NBA. We know what Garrison Brooks is. He's a ACC preseason player of the year for a reason. And Armando Bacot's really good inside. So I just like North Carolina, especially taking care of the front court. Maybe Kentucky hits, 3-point shots that they haven't to this point, but I'll take North Carolina to win the game.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it'll be a pretty close game. I'll take Kentucky by 2 points, though.
Yeah, I'll take North Carolina by 6. Well, that will wrap it up for this episode of Making the Madness on YouTube. Check out the other video, even though it's now irrelevant, just for fun. And until then, continue tuning in to Making the Madness on YouTube.